The Ring of Fire pattern is coming to the United States over the next 1 to 2 weeks, and it will bring a major heat wave with record high temperatures and extremely high heat index values. We're going to be talking about a severe weather setup as well as ridge riders go up and over the top. So areas from the northern plains, the upper Midwest, and the Ohio Valley need to watch out for severe weather. And we got your tropical update at the end of the video. So if you are here, you know that we do straightforward weather forecasts that are accurate, reliable. But if you haven't been here, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we do daily weather forecasts on this channel. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, especially if you like it throughout, and share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. I really do appreciate it. Now let's look at our temperatures that we experienced this Thursday afternoon, because what a delightful afternoon it has been, folks, across the upper Midwest, including myself in northern Illinois. We're in the low to mid 70s with a lot lower humidity this afternoon. So I have my windows open. It's wonderful outside with a mix of sun and clouds this afternoon. The same can't be said ahead of the front, though. Down here into Texas, the southeast, up into the mid-Atlantic, it's very steamy out there with temperatures into the mid and upper 90s, even a couple triple digits down here into areas of South Texas, and then obviously over into the desert Southwest, where obviously, you know, it's a desert, so we're going to be seeing hotter temperatures. Here's where we go as we start your Friday morning, and notice to the north, again, Wisconsin, up here into Michigan, especially the UP of Michigan near Lake Superior, we're going to be cooling those temperatures off into the 40s. In fact, the low 40s are promised up across this region near Marquette, Michigan, and Traverse City as we go into your Friday morning. So make sure to crack open the windows or fully open them, because it's going to be very nice here up across the Great Lakes region starting off your Friday. And it was warm today, yes, into the 80s and steamy across the Northeast, but as that front comes through as we go through tonight, it will cool our temperatures off, and much cooler temperatures, lower humidity is promised across Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and upstate New York, into portions of western Massachusetts, and even into northern Pennsylvania going into your Friday into the 70s out here. Again, the same can't be said further south, as we're going to be baking in the hot sun. Again, Dallas up to 100, 94 in Atlanta, and 97 in Columbia, South Carolina for your Friday. Now, with the heat and humidity further south comes the storms, right? So we have the chance for severe weather. We have the slight risk up here today in Maine. That's why we're warm today. We have a chance for severe weather, and that means scattered severe thunderstorms are possible in Maine, into northern portions of New Hampshire and Vermont, and then over here into Montana as well. And then looking at the dark green area, that's a marginal risk of severe weather where isolated severe thunderstorms are possible. Areas from New York City into Philly, into Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Roanoke, stretching back over to Louisville, St. Louis, and even as far back here as Amarillo as well. Keeping an eye on that threat here for today. We do have a heightened tornado risk, and you're not used to seeing a 5% chance of tornadoes in northern portions of Maine, but we have that in brown, and then in the green surrounding that into northern New Hampshire and Vermont, that is a 2% chance of tornadoes, and all of this is within a 25-mile radius of any given point in or around this area. As we head into the day tomorrow, that severe weather threat is shifting back across the Midwest. So the Hawkeye State of Iowa near Des Moines and Ames, back toward Omaha again. We're getting into the Lincoln area. We're going to be keeping an eye on the threat for severe weather. I think Friday's risk could go up to a slight risk in later outlooks. We'll have to see what the Storm Prediction Center does show. But right now there is a tornado risk, okay? So southeastern South Dakota, southwest Minnesota, northwestern Iowa, and parts of northeast Nebraska. You guys are in a 2% chance of tornadoes. Again, this is in a 25-mile radius of any given point in or around this area. Let's focus in on the eastern U.S. first. We'll go to the central U.S. and then the western U.S., okay? So here's the eastern United States here at 6 o'clock this evening. Notice we got some numerous coverage of showers and storms along the Ohio River over here into the mid-Atlantic. A few of these could be strong, posing a risk for gusty winds and some smaller hail. Watching out the tornado threat the next couple of hours up here into Maine as well, as that spokes of energy continues to move eastward. By the time we get to the mid and late evening hours, we'll shut off that tornado threat there for Maine, and we'll also start to wind down on the coverage of storms near the Ohio River and into the mid-Atlantic as well. And then going into the late night hours, we're mainly left with around a few isolated showers, a few rumbles of thunder, and the severe weather threat is going by the wayside. Now, as we go in through your Friday, A couple storms reigniting tomorrow early morning, so may need an umbrella if you're in southern Ohio, northern Kentucky, over there into West Virginia, say the Parkersburg area or Charleston, may see a shower or a storm. And then as we go into the afternoon, more storms will develop, similarly to today, maybe with a little less coverage, so more, instead of numerous, we're going to see more scattered coverage into the afternoon across Virginia, Maryland, into West Virginia and Kentucky. A couple isolated storms as well, mainly associated with a tropical system we'll talk about near the Gulf Coast. And then looking at Friday evening, again, we're just going to see those storms march from west to east across the eastern United States. Central U.S. view here as this evening, couple showers and storms into New Mexico and Colorado with our monsoonal flow. A couple thunderstorms in central Oklahoma as well. Can't rule out a stronger storm there with gustier winds, some localized downpours and smaller hail. Tornado threat is very low, and then that will continue into the overnight hours. As we lose the daytime heating, we lose that coverage and intensity of those storms. Early on Friday morning, watching out for a disturbance up toward the Dakotas. We'll turn our attention to North Dakota as we could see some stronger storms develop up there, and those will really kind of meander across North Dakota into portions of Minnesota as we go through the afternoon on Friday. Again, here comes that monsoonal flow again across New Mexico into Colorado, and that will promote some localized downpours. Friday night, turning your attention here to the Midwest, we're going to be seeing a cluster or two of showers and storms really kind of intensifying as they push southeast into the instability gradient. Friday night, these are mainly going to be producing heavy rain, but damaging winds should be the primary threat, followed by a secondary threat of hail and isolated tornadoes. But keeping an eye on areas into Wisconsin, Iowa, northern Missouri, and northern Illinois. That will be something to watch going from Friday night into Saturday. And we have to watch the damaging wind threat here. The max winds on the HRRR model up to 91 miles an hour. So not to say that's going to exactly happen in northwestern Iowa, but the potential is there for some strong damaging winds that could cause some power outages and some downed trees Friday night into Saturday, keeping a very close eye on the central U.S., especially the Midwestern areas. Western United States here this evening, monsoonal flow continues. That'll shut off sometime later this evening, and then we'll have some quiet weather overnight. And then as we go into the afternoon, like clockwork, again, we're going to be activating the sunshine. Sunshine will go to work on the ground, heating it up, instability will grow, and then there we get the thunderstorms as we go into Friday afternoon and evening, and that will carry over into Saturday morning. Now, we're going to talk about this ring of fire pattern because this is notorious for the midsummer, right? We see this just about every summer in varying degrees, and we have a big ridge of high pressure across the southeast United States this upcoming weekend. This high pressure is going to sit there for quite some time, and by middle of next week, actually kind of flex its muscles a bit and start to strengthen further north into the Midwest, which means a major heat wave is actually expected across the plains and parts of the Midwest at times going into next week. So from Saturday this weekend on July 19th through the following Saturday, July 26th, temperature anomalies could be around 15-20 degrees above normal and really focused on Kansas, and that's the state I really think the drought could actually be really rapid and intensifying as we go through the end of July. And the reason being is because we're going to be seeing temperatures into the 90s and the triple digits on a daily basis, not just for Kansas though, but for Oklahoma and Texas. But the difference is Kansas hasn't had a lot of rain like Oklahoma and Texas has this spring. So that is why the drought actually could be a little worse up here and developing quicker across Kansas in this type of pattern through late July. And with you have higher temperatures and the mature corn crops and soybeans this time of year, as many farmers know, the corn crops and the soybeans give off moisture back into the environment, and that actually leads to higher dew points. A dew point is a measure of moisture, and the higher the number, the more moisture there is in the atmosphere. 70s is air you can wear. Once you get up toward 80-degree dew points, it's just flat out ugly out there. It's very humid. The second you walk outside, you start sweating. It gets very, very muggy, that is for sure. And that's going to push our heat index values as we go through the weekend, but even through much of next week into the 100s, even in 110, 115 range perhaps, up into parts of the Midwest, really on a daily basis. And I think the warmest day looks to be Wednesday afternoon across the Midwest, where areas in Chicago, into Kansas City, Des Moines, into Madison, Wisconsin, could be up to 100, 115 with the heat indexes the middle of next week. Now, with the heat comes the storm energy, okay? So it's a domino effect. So the atmosphere warms up, it becomes more unstable. That is definitely carrying over into the weekend on Saturday, and there is an upgrade. Now, the Storm Prediction Center, this is a couple days out. This area could shift north, south, east, or west, but they have upgraded to a level 2 out of 5 slight risk. This means scattered severe thunderstorms are possible, and significant severe weather could be possible in parts of southeastern Iowa into central Illinois and western Indiana going into Saturday afternoon and evening. Isolated coverage in the dark green back across the high plains, including Nebraska. We'll be keeping an eye on that, but beyond Saturday, the storm energy is not going away. In fact, it's going to get even stronger as we heat up a little bit more and more each day next week, and that will foster a threat for northwest flow thunderstorm clusters that develop in the northern plains, and then they'll, off the northwest flow, move from northwest to southeast into the Midwest, Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley. And notice above normal precipitation over top of that ridge. That's the ring of fire pattern. We get the moisture from the western Gulf and the East Pacific, the monsoonal moisture, and then up and over top, it's that ring of fire pattern that's in the clockwise fashion. Now, we shut off the taps of moisture down here into the lower Mississippi Valley southern plains. So Texas has been very active this spring. Oklahoma's been active, and Arkansas and Louisiana. Well, Kansas has not been that active at times, and it's going to be dry. So that's why the drought risk is going to really start to appear there in Kansas, and it's going to be heating up quickly. Let's turn over here to the tropical weather update briefly, and right now the odds are continuing to lower from the National Hurricane Center, Miami, Florida. Earlier on was a 20% chance, now a 10% chance, hanging on by a thread as this is really approaching land now, the center of circulation, and you can see it is spreading some heavier rains down into New Orleans and portions of the Gulf Coast over the next 48 hours or so, but other than that, this is just a rain system, and there could be some flooding down here. Don't get me wrong, areas near Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans could see an additional 3 to 6 inches of rain, which in a 48-hour period could cause some runoff and some localized flooding here as we, across southern Louisiana through that time frame. In contrast, the East Pacific Ocean or the East Pacific Basin is quiet over the next 7 days, so nothing happening over here at all, as what has been a very active start to the hurricane season in the East Pacific is starting to quiet down. Before we go, let's look at the long-range forecast for the contiguous United States. From July 26th, we pick up going through the first 7-8 days of August. The heat will continue across the south central and southeastern U.S. with above normal temperatures. Also noting the Pacific Northwest and the western tier of the United States with above normal temperatures as well. Really kind of centered across Idaho down there into Nevada. Precipitation trends are going to be below normal from Kansas southward into Oklahoma and Texas, and our friends in Texas obviously love this forecast because they've had tons of flooding lately. Below normal precipitation is exactly what they need. In contrast, Kansas, that's been very dry, probably doesn't like this forecast. They could use a little bit of moisture. Moisture will be further off to the west into Arizona and Utah. Areas in Arizona, Flagstaff, Tucson, back down to Phoenix, up there towards Salt Lake City, Cheyenne, Wyoming, up toward Billings and Helena, Montana could start to get a lot of rainfall as we go through the late portion of July and into the first week of August. That ring of fire pattern likely will continue. It says equal chances here over the top there for the Great Lakes region in the eastern U.S., but as you well know, that those thunderstorm clusters could continue, and that could bring some heavier rains across the Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Mid-Atlantic as we go into early August. Thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy the forecast, first of all, make sure to subscribe to my channel for straightforward, accurate, reliable weather information on this channel daily as we do daily weather forecasts. Share it with a friend, family member on social media, and if you did like it, like the video, give it a thumbs up. Definitely appreciate your support out there. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow in another forecast, and have a wonderful rest of your Thursday out there.